Disabilities Issues and Updates on BCTV is supported by the Berks County Center for Independent Living, Abilities in Motion.
Hello and welcome to Disabilities Issues and Updates. I am Teresa Faulkner, your host. Abilities in Motion is located at 210 North 5th Street in Reading, Pennsylvania. We are open by appointment only. Give us a call at 610-376-0010. Press O for the operator, and they will be able to direct you to the necessary persons you need to speak to. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We are paying tribute to the accomplishments of men and women with disabilities whose work helps keep the nation's economy strong, and by reaffirming their commitment to ensure equal opportunities for all citizens. Thank you for your service. Today's guest is Naomi Gonzalez, affectionately known as Mimi. And we want to welcome Elizabeth Setley, who is our signer this morning. And we're going to be dealing with barriers. When we think about barriers, we think about fences and cautious tape and blocks, things that hold us back when we're trying to move forward in our lives. When we're trying to grasp the things that we want to accomplish in our lives before we leave this world. There are just things that we want to do. Mimi is actually going to tell us a little bit about herself, and then we're going to let her continue with her story and her concern with disability. Welcome, Mimi. So nice to have you this morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me,
My
Teresa.
pleasure.
I appreciate this opportunity. So my name is Naomi Gonzalez, also known as Mimi. I was born in New York, spent a little time in Puerto Rico, and then I've been in Berks County ever since. I've been here some 25 plus years. I'm a mother to 4 pretty awesome kids, if I say so myself. I do have an autistic son and 1 daughter, so 3 boys, 1 girl. I'm currently working towards my degree in addiction psychology and political science. And in 2019, I acquired a spinal cord injury, which left me paralyzed and a full-time wheelchair user. In 2020, I joined the Miss Wheelchair Pennsylvania organization.
I was admiring your sash there, very beautiful.
Thank you.
What just happened when you received that sash? Did you just recently get the sash, or you've had it for a while?
So this one is a new one, 2022. I had one last year as an ambassador, so this is an ambassador sash.
Okay.
Every year you can compete if you choose to. If you do not compete, then you have the option to become an ambassador, so that you can kind of just learn the things that you need to learn in order to be a successful title holder.
Let's tell our viewers a little more about the pageant. What type of pageant is this? How does this work? And how did you get involved with this?
Okay, so when I first became involved, when I first became injured for that matter, I felt like I had nothing left. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't be no one. My life was over. But then I seen these women, a part of this organization, that were phenomenal. They were empowering. They were just such powerful forces, doing so much, not only in their personal lives, but within their community, that I needed to join. I wanted to be like them. I needed to be like them. It was the boost, the motivation that I needed to get out of my own funk, to be honest. So the Miss Wheelchair Pennsylvania organization, it's actually not a pageant. It is a nonprofit advocacy-based organization. It was, when they first created it, 51, I think, years ago. It was called a pageant. But, you know, because it's based off of the work that the women do, essentially inner beauty versus the outer beauty, they eventually changed it and labeled it a competition. And so if you're a woman that is a full-time wheelchair user, in public wheelchair user, and you have a passion for advocacy or just raising awareness to society to ensure that the rights of the disability community are being met, you then choose a certain platform
Okay.
that you're most passionate about, and you advocate for them to be set in place.
Let me just ask a question here, Mimi. You had mentioned what you are passionate about. So I know that you're a part of the PA wheelchair. I know, but what are you really passionate about? I know that you came to the group after you acquired your injury, your spinal cord injury and so forth. But what caused you to be so passionate? And what was that thing that made you passionate?
My passion stemmed from the realization that I myself am in recovery. And there is absolutely no way that I would have been able to do the things that I've done. You know, I wasn't such a great mother at one time. And now I'm a great mother. My children know that I'm here for them, that I am, you know, just above and beyond do what I can as a mother, and they're appreciative. They feel secure. They know they have that security as a mother, and at one point that was not the case. So I think about how other people that have physical or invisible disabilities that would like to get into recovery do not have the opportunities as readily available made to them because of their disabilities. So my passion pretty much just stemmed from me being in recovery, knowing everything that I've done and everything who I am, knowing that others absolutely would love to be there. Of course, you have to be ready within your own time. But when that time presents itself and you're ready, you kind of get this door slammed in your face, unfortunately, that doesn't allow you to actually enter treatment due to the physical barriers.
So explain to our viewers one or more situations where you were attempting to to get into recovery, and what was that like here in Berks County? What was that process like for you?
So for me personally, I was able to get into recovery right before my injury.
Okay.
So, and I'm so grateful for that because as an able-bodied person, a non-disabled person, I was able to walk in and out of treatment several times
Okay.
before it finally sunk in. And it just so happened that it was right before my injury. Thank God it did when it did, because had I still been struggling with alcoholism and just addiction, I wouldn't have been able to easily and readily access recovery. So when I started to look into it, when I joined this organization, I started to just do my research.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that the disability community is up to 4 times more likely to struggle with substance use compared to the general population. And there are almost 5 million Americans within the disability community that are currently struggling with substance use. So the issue becomes the physical barriers that aren't allowing people with physical disabilities to get into treatment. If you're a wheelchair user, the hallways aren't wide enough, uneven flooring, non-working elevators or no elevators at all. Don't know if I mentioned that the hallways, the doorways aren't wide enough.
Right.
But they also don't have accessible patient rooms. So even if there is a ramp outside, which in all fairness, some do have ramps and some do have elevators, but once you're inside, they don't have accessible patient rooms, accessible bathrooms, no roll-in showers, or the alternative to have like a bench to shower in. They just don't have the required accessibility to be able to achieve treatment. And even for people that are blind or hard of visually impaired, deaf or hard of hearing, they don't have the assistive technology. They don't provide you with Braille. There's a large portion of the blind community and the hard of hearing that aren't able to get into treatment for these barriers. They have to resort to reading lips. That's just not okay.
Okay.
And now they do have outpatient services, but when I first became disabled and when I first got into recovery, I reached out for support groups. And now I found a ton for people with disabilities. Like, they welcome you with open arms. I found a ton for people in recovery. They also wrap their arms around you and welcome you in. But there was absolutely none intersecting the two, connecting the two. So I actually created the first public Facebook support group for people with disabilities that are either in recovery or interested in recovery.
Okay.
Because being that this community has such a large number, I'm like, well, where is the support group? So there aren't none.
So did you, Mimi, when you were doing your research and you were looking into things and you were coming up against these different barriers, are you considered a loud advocate or are you a soft advocate?
Oh no, I don't know how to be a soft advocate. I'm just very passionate about it. I am very, I describe myself over the weekend as fierce. I don't take things lightly. I don't take no for an answer when I know this is imperative for this community, whether it's within the community, whether it's within my family, my kids, myself. When I see something that is being discriminated, when the rights are not being met, when things are set in place so that we're not discriminated against and they're not being pursued and they're not being set in place, I am that voice that will come from behind and set things straight. And I, like I said before, I'm in it for the long haul. I know that these things take time, and that's okay. But as long as we continue to voice our opinions, let society, let our community know, eventually things will change.
And are you willing? I know you and I have conversated earlier and before the show today, but are you, once you find an in, are you out there sharing that in? Are you out there promoting that in for those that are researching and trying to find out what you've already found out?
So I've tried, like reaching out to other advocates.
Okay.
And I have connected with other advocates that are also passionate about recovery. I haven't really found any within my state.
Okay.
But there are many in other states that are all kind of lone rangers and within their state, but people that are in recovery within this community, like I've gone to AA and I've gone to NA. Again, a lack of accessibility prevents me from going there. But they do agree that these things do need to change. And so I reach out to state representatives, to local legislators, and just try and collaborate with anyone and everyone that's willing to hear me, anyone that's willing to give me a few minutes of their time so that we can collaborate, so that we can exchange information, and so that they understand that these are realities.
We have an election that's actually coming up next month. How important do you think that is?
Voting is a huge, important part of democracy. You know, it gives citizens that chance to choose their government officials, to choose their leaders. It gives them the opportunity to voice their opinions on past performances or officials, and it allows them to express their opinion on public issues. So it's important for people to do their research on government officials, to know who they're voting for.
And what they stand for.
And absolutely.
And what they stand for. We have to understand what they stand for.
Absolutely.
It's very important. Because they may not stand for what we need as a person, right?
Absolutely.
They might not stand with us.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You may not like 100% everything about a particular government official, but as long as you know that your needs and wants are aligned with what it is they are promoting to do, as long as you align with that government official, that's why it's so imperative for you to do your research. You know, voting is one of our nation's most fundamental rights, and it's a hallmark of democracy, but people that have, intellectual or mental health disabilities, they've been prevented from voting because of the prejudice assumptions that they're incapable.
And our
of
world
doing
is
so.
actually, there's like a promotion out there right now that voting is not important, but you and I know that voting is a voice that goes places we cannot go. And so if you're watching us today and you're thinking about voting, contact the election office. See where your polls is. Make sure that things are accessible. Mimi talked a lot about accessibility, dealing with small hallways, being able to get in and out of buildings. It's very, very important that you do your research. You have to do your research. You have to ask questions. And there are persons that are in those offices that would be able to assist you and be able to guide you so that you would be able to vote. Mimi, I was thinking about a viewer might be watching today and they're encouraged or they want to move forward in their life. They want to move forward. They want to become an advocate for themselves and for whatever their voice is passionate about. What would you say to them if they're in that place of deciding? They're sitting there or they're laying there or they're thinking about it. When you were in that place where the Miss Wheelchair Pennsylvania came to you and said, I can do this. Speak to them this morning and encourage them.
I would say that when you know that there is something that needs to be done for you or for your community, your voice is powerful. Mm-hmm. And I know it can be hard to believe that. You're thinking, it's easy to think, it's just me, no one's gonna hear me. I can promise you, if you speak up, there are going to be others that have also been afraid of speaking up. Mm-hmm. So the minute you do, you're going to have that crowd. It might only be one or two at first, but the more that speak up, the bigger this voice becomes, and the bigger the issues are voiced to society and to the community to realize that these changes need to be made. Whatever it is you're passionate about, go after it. Pursue it to the fullest extent of your abilities and capabilities, and know that others are kind of waiting and listening and watching, and they're like waiting for you to say something because they themselves are kind of shy or reserved, and they're thinking the same thing, like, well, it's just me. Connect with others that are also advocating for the same things that are aligned with your views, with your opinions, with your concerns. And just do as much research, educate yourself as much as you can on whatever this issue might be. Do the research, educate yourself, and just start making that community outreach to connect with others that have the same visions and concerns as you.
And do you think that there is a starting place? Do you think that there's one particular starting place? Sometimes we create our own barriers within our own minds. How do we handle that? How do we speak to ourselves when we're saying, can't do that, that fence is too high, it's too steep? How do you speak to that? How do you speak to your own personal barriers that you're dealing with?
Well, to that I would say, and it might sound a little harsh, but no one is responsible for your success except for you. Whatever it is you want to do in life, no one else, others can want it for you, but essentially you have to be the one to create that for yourself. And I know it can be hard to have that inner motivation, but just know that as you are, exactly as you are, you're enough. It's enough. There is no such thing as the perfect timing. There is no such thing as I have to have all my ducks lined up in a row. You have to start where you are, as you are, in order to become that perfect vision of the person you want to be. There's a saying that goes, turn your mess into a message. So as you are, I was a hot mess. Oh, I absolutely was. And I'm still learning, and I'm still educating myself. Everything we do in life is a learning process. But if you don't start now as you are and where you are, you're never going to reach that. So you can't start way over here as a professional, you know everything. No, you have to start where you are so that little by little you have to make these mistakes. If you don't make these mistakes, you'll never get to the person or the vision that you're setting out to be. Think about that person that you want to become, how you want to become, who you want to become, and act as if you're already that person. Act as if you're already sitting in that seat and work backwards.
Wow.
Then you have to kind of set things up. What can I do to get there? Little things, just little goals. You don't have to do anything huge. Just put all these little goals together and you will obtain that larger goal.
Well, listen, I hear that advocacy coming out. I want to thank you for being a part of our show today. Tell our viewers where they can find you. Is there any other place they can find Mimi?
Yeah, so I do have a Facebook page, which is Naomi Mimi Gonzalez. I also have an Instagram page, same thing, Naomi Mimi Gonzalez. I also have a public figure page. 2022 Miss Wheelchair PA Ambassador Naomi Gonzalez.
Good. And one last question. If you're in the community, are you approachable to ask questions if persons have questions for you?
Absolutely. I welcome any and everyone. Just approach me, ask me whatever it is you need to know. I will, if I don't know, I'll find out. And whatever I do know, I will absolutely help you with whatever concerns you have and try and point you in the right direction if I possibly can.
Thank you for your voice and thank you for being a part of our show. Have a wonderful day and thank you again for being with us, Mimi.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Disabilities Issues and Updates on BCTV is supported by the Berks County Center for Independent Living, Abilities in Motion.